Hey guys, what's up? So today's video is on this look right here. So today's video is all about how to get glowy, luminous skin when having oily skin. So I know for myself, like throughout the years, I've watched so many videos on how to have like that glowy, luminous skin. And too many of them, like they have oily skin, or I'm sorry, they have dry skin. And so using those tips and tricks, like don't get me wrong, I've tried them, but they just don't work for oily skin. Like you're gonna look like a hot ass mess in about 2 hours depending on how much oil you have. But for me, it's usually about 2 hours and I no longer look luminous and glowy. I look like somebody like put oil all over my face and it just does not look cute. So these are the tips and tricks that I have learned throughout the years of how to have that glowy, natural, radiant, beautiful glowing skin for spring and summer while having oily skin and being able to maintain that oil. So please be sure to like and subscribe before you leave, and be sure to hit that post notification bell to get notified every single time that I upload. And if you would like to see the tips and tricks that I have for oily skin and having that glowy skin look for spring and summer, then just keep on watching. Alright you guys, so starting off with this glowy skin routine for oily skin, I am going to start off by priming with kind of things that I would normally prime with so that I can ensure that the foundation that I put on top is going to not move or anything like that, because even though you want glowy skin, you still want to make sure your base is like normal. So I'm going to start off with the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. Sorry, I feel like a piece of hair on my face, always. This happens to me every time. Okay. And then I'm going to use the Tatcha, the Silk Canvas Primer. I really like this one a lot because now I don't think it really like affects my oil at all. I think my oil is about the same compared to when I use like other primers compared to this one. But I really like what it does for my pores. So I've really been loving this one. So I'm just going to blend this all into the skin. And then I'm going to apply my normal foundation because we don't want to change that up. And I will show you how we're going to incorporate that glow, but without messing up the foundation. So I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation. And then I am going to bring it down on my neck, which I don't always do. But for some reason, my self-tanner just like did not grab very well on my neck right there. You guys can see it. Honestly, I think it's because I did not scrub off what I had on before I did it, and it was starting to like dry out. Like it was to the point it needed scrubbed off, and I didn't do it. So honestly, I think that's what it is. But yeah, so I am going to apply this down my neck as well just to even that out. But I am using my Morphe Highlight and Contour Sponge. And then for a look like this, you do not want like a crazy full coverage or anything. You want something that is a little bit more like light to medium coverage. I mean, that's all a personal preference, of course, but I usually do not want something crazy full coverage when this is kind of the look that I'm going for, just because usually when this is what I'm doing, I usually am I want it to look, I'm going for a little bit more of like a natural makeup look. Sorry, this makes my voice sound funny. Oh my gosh, like nothing will stick to that. What the hell? It's a little better. Okay, good enough. For some reason, like stuff is just not really wanting to grab there, which is really bizarre, but okay. Okay, I'm going to take just whatever I have left on my hand on my neck. so now I'm gonna go in with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I'm gonna try using just light neutral and see how that does, and then if I need some of the fair neutral, then I will add that in. Now I'm just going to take my RCMA No Color Powder and I'm going to set my under eyes and the rest of my face. So the reason why I did the concealer not as bright as I normally would is because when I do a look like this, where like I'm really not going to be doing much to the eyes, it's mostly just focusing on the face, and I want the face to look nice and glowy and fresh. I usually like the eyes to not be like overly highlighted, so that is why I did just the light neutral and not adding any bit of the fair neutral to kind of brighten it up. So because we are adding a lot of glow though, we want to make sure that we still set the face really well. Okay, so before I move on to bronzer, I'm going to put a little bit of a lip balm on. This is the Fresh Sugar Caramel Hydrating Lip Balm. Alright, so now we're going to move on to bronzer. So the bronzer I'm going to be using is the Hoola Bronzer by Benefit. So I'm going to do it with a light hand with a big fluffy brush. So this is the Morphe JH13. So I'm just lightly dipping in there. I'm going to tap off the excess. And then we are just lightly bronzing up the face, and then I will use a more precise brush to be well, a little more precise with it. I have sparkles on my face and I haven't worn makeup in almost a week, so I don't know where that came from. Okay, sorry if this eye is like super red. I just had something in my eye, so I don't know what that was, but I'm gonna tap over this versus like swipe, just because I don't know why. It still looks kind of funky. Whatever. It is what it is, right? Okay, so then I'm going to jump into a little bit more precise brush. So this is my Morphe M405. So I'm just going to use this to almost like a really soft contour. Alright, so now the next step is going to be that I'm going to take my Jaclyn Cosmetics, the Mood Light powder. This is in the shade Brighten Up. So I'm going to put some in the cap. And then because I'm oily, how I like to do this is I like to do it on a nice like fluffy brush. So this is my Morphe JH06 brush. So it's nice, and I'm going to kind of show you really quick. It's not very dense. So it's nice and like And it's nice and loose, and it's not too fluffy and dense, because when a brush is really dense, it's going to put more product on, whereas this, I'm going to be able to get a nice wash on the face, like a very nice wash of this powder on the face, versus anything too pigmented, and it's not going to make it too dewy on the face, because as somebody who's oily, you don't want that, because as you start to get oily through the day, it's not going to look good. So I just have some of this in the cap. And I'm going to take this brush, I'm going to dip it in, and then I kind of like tap off the excess, and then we're going to dust this really all over the face. And you can already kind of see that natural glow that this adds. It is stunning. But for me, this is the only way that I like to apply this product, is with a nice, like, fluffy, loose kind of brush, that it's not dense or anything like that, so that it does not make me, it just gives me that kind of glow from within sort of look, versus glowy, because I do not want glowy, like glowy, not all over the face, just because that's going to be a hot mess in a matter of 2 hours. So now I'm just going to apply blush. So I'm going to just apply a blush that I would normally do. This is a matte blush. I don't care for shimmer blushes too much. Occasionally I will, but they're not my favorite. So I'm using my Morphe JH04 with Tarte Seduce blush. And we're just going to blush the cheeks. My little baby hairs that are growing back are in the way. Alright. So now I'm going to go back in with that Mood Light powder in the shade Brighten Up. But now I'm going to I'm going to grab a smaller, more dense brush. So this is my Morphe M510. And I'm going to pick some of this up, and we're going to highlight kind of this apple of the cheek area. So kind of smile, and right here. And then kind of blend back into that highlight. But you can see how that really brightens up the face and everything like that. But I do not like to do this with like a highlighter, just because then that's too much for somebody who's oily on this apple of the cheek area. So I like using a powder like this, where it's nice and soft and luminous, and it is not anything too crazy. So smile, and right here on this apple of the cheek area, and then kind of blend back. Just like that. So now what I like to do is I like to take any setting mist, so any setting mist that is your favorite. This one is my personal favorite. This is the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, but I also really like the Urban Decay Chill Makeup Setting Spray. If you're excessively oily, I would recommend their All Nighter Setting Spray. But any setting spray that you like, and I like to do this before the highlight, because spraying this on before you put the highlight on is going to help to make that highlight look very wet, and that it's not sitting on top of the skin. So I'm going to use the Morphe one, like I said, and I'm going to spritz this all over my face. Okay, so we're going to let that dry just a little bit, and then the highlight that I'm going to be using today is I'm going to be using, this is the Jaclyn Cosmetics like highlighter palette, and I'm going to be mixing Iced and Gleam. Is that right? Yeah. So Iced is this one, and then Gleam is that one right there. So I'm going to be mixing both of those on that same Morphe M510 brush. So by this point, the setting spray has dried enough, and I just kind of dip back and forth between the two. Sorry, the lid's starting to close on me. So I dip back and forth between the two, and then tap off any excess, and then we're going to do the tops of the cheekbones. So you can already see this nice glow that we got going on. And then I bring it up and around the brow and bring just a tiny bit up through there. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit more. I want just a tiny bit. You want to make sure that when you come up through here, you don't have much left on your brush, but you can see that nice glow that has added to the skin, but this is going to still wear well throughout the day. And then I always like to highlight the Cupid's bow, and then we'll add just a tiny bit to the bridge of the nose. Just a tiny bit. I do not like much on the nose. Alright, just like that. So now I'm just going to go finish off my makeup really quick, and I will be right back for you guys to see the finished look. Alright, you guys, that is it for this makeup look. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next one. Bye!